Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later because I'm wondering if anyone out there knows any good snake puns. I certainly don't. And apologies right off the bat if you don't find that particular pun hysterical, but it's just my way of introducing a toy that is something a little bit different versus a lot of the reviews I've been doing recently. It's this rather handsome, beastly beauty from 1999. It's Beast Wars Neo Colada. Now this is a bit of a new one on me too actually, because I've never handled this toy before. I did own a lot of classic Beast Wars toys back in the day, and a lot of the Japanese stuff I did know through a friend of mine, but this particular mold must have slipped through the net somehow. But let me tell you, it's absolutely fantastic. And actually, whilst I don't want to oversell anything, it might be one of the best Beast Wars toys of that time. Like, it's really, really good. So let's check it out. Before we begin, I should mention that this review is brought to you by TF Source. You will find a link to their site in the description below, and you can go ahead and check them out for all your Transformers needs. So yes, a figure like this may seem a little bit exotic somehow to a lot of Western fans because we didn't get it released over here. It is a Japanese exclusive, and it's just so different to a lot of the Beast Wars toys that I know and love as well. I mean, firstly, it's a snake, obviously. I mean, that might not sound all that revelatory. It's not like snakes are a completely unusual animal or anything, but it is the only one that I can think of right now in Beast Wars, other than the Fusor Quick Strike, and that's only half a snake, let's put it that way. So this guy is definitely something a little bit different for the line. The other key thing about this toy is the presentation, because it's just beautiful to behold, whether it's the paint, the finish, it all holds together really well. There's a lot to be said about how this thing is presented. I mean, you can really see that with this kind of molded scale pattern all over the main body. It's just glorious, and some nice gold paint here. I mean, so many colors on this thing. Beautiful. Amazingly clean and crisp detail applied for stuff like the eyes and the white fangs. It's just immaculate in terms of the paint here, honestly. Going around to the rear, you've got this very striking yellow and red pattern going on here. That looks fantastic. Really nicely applied again. And I love this kind of gradated finish that's going on all over the place. And then we simply have to talk about this tail because it's just wonderful. Now, I initially thought that the individual segments were kind of gradated somehow because it goes from this kind of electric blue to the darker blue to this color over here, but they're not. They're actually like 4 of the same color and then another 4, but the effect works. Like, it looks like it's gradated even though it's not, but either way, just breathtaking. Now, the largest segments of the tail nearest to the body here are all on ball joints, so they will kind of hold their position however you want to put them, so that's good for stability. But then this end piece is just loose, it's on pins, and it is meant to be like that. It just kind of flops around however you have it, and you'll see why that is in the robot mode, but it actually works surprisingly well. It kind of gives the snake mode a little bit of an unpredictability somehow, I don't know. Now, you might think with all that going on that he's not very stable, but he actually really is, particularly because of the ball joints on offer here, and this big chunky one just underneath the body kind of keeps it all together, so that's really good. And you can kind of position the tail however you want, so plenty of options, which is great. Coming back to the main body, I mean, you will see some kind of robot mode bits if you kind of look under the chin here and things like this, but it's actually surprisingly well hidden. I mean, these are the legs, and you've got feet here just on the sides, but because of the kind of scaly pattern carrying through, it's quite camouflaged actually. I mean, even the chest here, you wouldn't notice it unless you go looking for it, in my opinion. Really well done. Now, if you prise open his little jaws, a little catch just to help you there, and you can just kind of prise it open like so, you'll notice 2 things. The first is the little gun just in there for like his tongue. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but that's fantastic. And the second is this pink paint, once again showing how great the paint budget is here and just how nicely applied it is. It looks superb. Now, the little pistol thing that's in place of the tongue actually connects through to the kind of arm that's in there on the robot mode arm, and believe it or not, it's a little water pistol, which is just so cool. It's not the only example of a firing water mechanism that we had during Beast Wars, but it is a particularly inventive one, especially as all you've got to do is press down on this little button just there, and it kind of squeezes the valve inside and shoots the water out of his mouth. Ingenious. Now look, you can call me boring if you want, but I'm not going to be demonstrating the water effect today, right? Because I'm not in the habit of getting my vintage toys wet. That's just how I roll. But still, even without the actual gimmick itself, I think the little laser thing in the mouth looks super cool. I think if anything, the one thing you kind of can't do in this snake mode is really position it in a sort of slightly more flat, lying down, sneaky pose. It just doesn't really work. I mean, I guess it kind of does. Like, it's not the end of the world. You can do it. It just, I don't know, it looks a bit more like roadkill to me somehow. Other than that, I've got 0 complaints here. I think this thing is so good. I think it's beautifully presented. It looks great. It's really solid. It's got some fun gimmicks packed in, especially for the size of it. It's just superb. This is premium Beast Wars, in my opinion. In terms of comparisons, probably the most obvious one to talk about is Beast Wars Neo Saberback, because these two were available as a 2-pack. You could get them both individually or as a box set. And it's a kind of a strange one because it's like Snake versus Dinosaur, the old rivalries, I guess, but it still is fun to see. They're very different beast modes in many ways, but I definitely prefer the Colada toy overall. Like, don't get me wrong, Saberback is super cool as well, and the transformation's quite inventive, but the robot mode is a little bit fiddly for my tastes. And I think it's super cool actually with this box set that they kind of switched around the traditional way that you would think of these beast modes in terms of fiction, because, you know, the snake actually in this case is the good guy and the dinosaur is the bad guy. So it's just a little bit inventive. It kind of flips the expectation somehow. And I suppose really, you know, if we're going to say that a snake is unusual in terms of overall Beast Wars, it's truly not in terms of Beast Wars Neo, right? Because they had stuff like this. This is Beast Wars Neo Dead End, which is an ammonite. And so, yeah, just a lot of weird and wonderful stuff in that toy line. It's super cool. Yeah, similarly, here you can see it with Beast Wars Neo Mac Kick, who turns into a horse, and that's the one and only horse transformer that I can think of right now anyway. Has there ever been another horse transformer? Feel free to at me if you can think of one, because I can't currently, but this is really fun to see. I don't think scale was really a big consideration in terms of beast modes at this point, quite clearly. But you know, Western fans that are unfamiliar with Beast Wars Neo might be interested to see him next to one of the more familiar molds from Kenner, and here you have the classic Rhinox toy. It is the Takara colours, but you know, same mold, and again you can see that Colada is quite large by comparison. And finally, in terms of beast modes anyway, here you can see him with the one and only, the legendary Big Convoy, and this is the original toy. There hasn't been one subsequently, although there are rumours persisting that we will see a Generations update of this guy before too long, which would be great fun, and I'd kind of hope for the same for Colada, to be honest. Like, I think it's such a great design, it absolutely deserves another shot. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out transformation. Now, the first thing you want to do is just fold this whole section up like so, and then underneath here you can see the arm containing the little firing mechanism for the water pistol. That just needs to be moved out of the way. Then you want to unpeg the feet from the sides of the body like so. Just bring those out, and you might want to fold those a little bit out of the way, just like that. Just kind of get them out of the way for the rest of the transformation. Now, in here we've got the robot mode head, so we just need to bring that up, and then we have what I think is one of the most creative bits of this transformation, as we take the whole main body and just rotate it all the way around like so. Next, you want to take that ball joint and just fold it over to the side, kind of get it out of the way, and then the back of the body just pegs in. Then you can just fold these legs down and into place, kind of get the feet orientated. Same on this side, got that nice scaly pattern facing forwards. Next, you just want to orientate this arm, just kind of fold it in, and then fold that elbow round like so. Next, you want to get the head through this little panel just there, so you kind of have to flip that up. And if you get the head orientated properly, then you should just be able to move this down without too much effort anyway. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze. There is a bit of clearance that is required to get that, but there you go, you can just kind of thread it through. Next, you want to bring down the snake head slightly, and there's a little tab that just goes into this slot on the chest, so you just kind of want to line it up, make sure it's all in place, and there we go, transformation done. And it's nothing too complicated, but I do think it is quite creative. You know, there's a few little interesting twists and turns that kind of keep you guessing, and it's very repeatable though, very simple. You can kind of go back and forth without too much hassle, and the result speaks for itself, because you've got this truly quite captivating robot mode as well. I mean, let's just get the obvious point acknowledged right out the gate here. Yes, one of his arms is the snake tail, which is either something that you love or you hate, I guess. I mean, for my money, I think it's superb. It's just, again, super creative, super different. It's very Beast Wars as well, so I feel like your tolerance for this kind of thing depends on whether you love that line as a whole. You know, like if you're into the Beast era, this is nothing new, right? We've had T-Rex heads as arms and dragon heads as arms, and this is just an extension of that, if anything. But maybe if you're not into your beasts, this might be a little bit of a step too far. I don't know. Where it works for me, beyond just the inherent fun of it, is that quite clearly it looks like a whip, right? That's obviously what it's kind of designed to be, and clearly Colada's robot mode has a bit of a cowboy theme going on as well, in case you hadn't noticed that one yet. So it sort of works thematically in my mind anyway. But again, Beast Wars was just very good at doing these kind of odd body types with unusual limbs and everything else, not just your typical humanoid robots, and I always kind of dug that. And this is definitely one of the more extreme versions of it, but thematically, again, it works so well in my opinion, and it's a fun gimmick to boot. I mean, we'll look at articulation in a minute, but the fact that you can actually just kind of whip this tail like back and forth, you know, that's just, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. And fun is really the kind of main theme that you get here. I mean, Beast Wars, again, was never aligned to take itself too seriously, and you can kind of see that in the head sculpt here with that goofy grin and the little hat that he's got going on. I mean, it is definitely goofy, but I just adore it. I think that's super, super cool. Love the green eyes as well. Some neat little touches like the little molded mechanical detailing on the back of the hood just here. I mean, they didn't have to do something like this, but it absolutely adds something. Just superb. Once again, in this mode, I can't really kind of fully communicate how lovely this figure is to behold up close, with that kind of scale pattern being on full display here and the kind of gradation and everything. It's just beautiful. I know I keep saying it, but it really, really is. Really adore the placement of the snake head on the chest here. I mean, that's nothing unusual in and of itself, but it just works so well. And with this kind of silhouette of the kind of cape there, I mean, it's obviously meant to look like a poncho of sorts, and it's just so incredibly clever. Seriously, major poncho vibes, and I just dig it. I think it's so cool. And then here on the slightly more normal arm of the two, you've got a bit of a claw going on and a nice bit of mechanical detailing to kind of sell that this is a robot. And of course, this is the little water pistol just there. So it's kind of got this soft plastic that if you squeeze it, you will be able to squirt the water out. Just here on his bicep, he's got a little spark crystal, which is a gimmick from the time where you could see his little faction symbol in there. Of course, he is a Maximal, as we said earlier. He's a good guy. And that just looks amazing. Honestly, nice little splash of color too. But I know I said it earlier, but the presentation overall here is just so on point. I mean, lovely paint on areas such as the crotch and just up here as well. This down here all looks so crisp and beautifully applied. All feels really solid as well and kind of nicely put together for a figure with so much movement and ball joints and everything. Like, this is really well tabbed in, so that's great. Articulation wise, there's tons going on. I mean, the head moves very freely on a ball joint, obviously slightly impeded by the back piece just here, but will kind of look up and down quite nicely as well. This shoulder's unusual because it's actually connected to the back piece, a little bit like kind of Legacy Sideburn and things like that now, but it really doesn't feel like it's disconnected from the main body, Eddie, though. I know that's been a common complaint on that toy, but this actually works, I think. I mean, it will move up and down like so, and you do have kind of a lot of free movement thanks to that ball joint as well. Now, there's no bicep rotation as such. That's not really something that happened back then, but you do get rotation at the elbow, as you can see, and you will get a 90-degree bend there. I mean, do I even need to talk about the articulation in this arm? Because it's just ridiculous. You know, ball joints all the way down. It's just, I mean, literally off the chain. No waist swivel. I mean, again, that wasn't really a thing back then, but you've got ball jointed hips that go very far up, and because of the little gap in the back of the legs for transformation, the knees will go very far down as well, so that's super cool. Now, it does have ball joints in the ankles. My only real grumble here is I do wish there was slightly more ankle tilt going on, because that is slightly impeded, but they will go forward and back quite far, so that's something. Add it all up and you have one of the most dynamic and fun to pose toys that I've handled in years. Genuinely, like, this thing is so much fun to mess with, so poseable, even despite like the lack of a waist joint or whatever by modern standards. It just looks breathtaking as well. The range of the joints is really the thing, and that snake tail arm is just the icing on the cake. Superb. I mean, just look at that. He displays so nice, and again, that snake arm just adds so much. The colors, everything, I'm just really in love with this toy. I just absolutely adore it. It's such a gem, honestly, and I can't believe I've never handled it before, because there are so many toys from this era that I love, and this has just blown a lot of them out of the water straight away. Amazing. I mean, here we can see him with some other Beast Wars Neo oddities. We've got Break and Sharp Edge, which are two very memorable toys from the time, and again, it just kind of shows you the range of stuff that Japan was getting during this Beast era. It was just phenomenal. Case in point, here you have him with Heinrad from Beast Wars Neo, who many will know is one of the more unusual Transformers toys of all time, probably. But that's a conversation for another day, let's say. And then you've got another version of the Big Convoy mold, in this case Big Black Convoy, which is just a stunning toy all round. Then here we have one of my personal favorites, which is Long Rack. I mean, he's a giraffe, so need I say any more about why this toy is so excellent? It speaks for itself. And then you also have the similarly cowboy-themed Arcadis, who's a bad guy actually, but I threw him in here just because ponchos, and they both seem to be wearing one, and you can kind of get the vibe there, right? That seems to be a thing in Beast Wars Neo. And finally, we have him with his opposite number in that Versus 2-pack. It's Saberback in his robot mode. And again, there's no doubt in my mind that Colada is the better of the two figures here. That's just my personal preference anyway. Although, as I mentioned earlier, I am quite in awe of the transformation on Saberback, because it's really cool and very inventive. But still, the two of them don't necessarily line up eye to eye or anything like that. Like, it's a bit of a weird Versus set, but great fun nonetheless. But wait, there's more. We're not done yet, because apparently this guy has a third mode, and it's this, and I swear I'm not making this up, right? Like, this is a legit thing. It's a kind of like weapons platform, gun, turret, cannon thing, and it's operated by Stampede. Here you go. It's something. Overall then, I got nothing but big love for this toy. Like, it was one that I was always curious about for the last however many decades, and I finally got it in hand, and it proved to be even better than I could have imagined. So it's just a real treat, and it really shows how inventive, how creative, how off the chain so many of the toys from this era were, meaning that if you can track one down and you're so inclined, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. What a banger. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this video is brought to you by TF Source. You'll find a link to their site in the description below, and you can go ahead and check them out for all your Transformers needs. I'd also be very grateful if you could leave me a like for today's effort, please, but otherwise, that's it from me. So have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.